Hello, you're watching news from Kazakhstan on K+. It is Thursday, March 14th. These are the headlines. President Nazarbayev's former son-in-law Rahat Aliyev is facing a life sentence in Austria. Lawyers say he is ready to stand trial. Independent news website Stan.kz announces the termination of its activities. The reasons for its shutdown were confiscation of office equipment and a court ruling. Member of the 1986 Kazakh youth uprising, Kairat Uskubekov, would have turned 47 on Wednesday. The memory of the rehabilitated hero is honored in his hometown of Semey. The latest high-profile press conference took place on Wednesday in Almaty. It was devoted in its entirety to Rahat Aliyev. Austrian attorneys representing the interests of Nurbank's deceased manager's wives offered the press a new list of charges against the Kazakh president's former relative. We turn to our first report for the arguments.
The criminal case against the president's ex-son-in-law Rahat Aliyev has no political component. Doctors Gabriel Lansky and Norbert Hasselhofer, family lawyers of murdered Nurbank managers Zholdas Timraliyev and Aybar Hasenov, specifically came to Almaty from Austria just to make the statement. For years, Rahat Aliyev attempted to present himself as a victim instead of a criminal, investing a lot of money in his endeavor and making many contracts all across Austria along the way. Rahat Aliyev expressed his readiness for court action in Austria just to prove that he is not on the run, say the lawyers. Still, the actual whereabouts of the former ambassador are unknown. Nevertheless, the defense believes that Nazarbayev's exiled family member never left the EU. If Austria signs European order for Aliyev's arrest, the police will look for him across the entire European Union for later investigation in Vienna as the place of original criminal case initiation. If found guilty, Aliyev faces life sentence. Lawyers say that Aliyev could be charged with numerous crimes as he is suspected of committing a murder and bribing Austrian officials. The latter, though, has no concrete evidence since all payments were likely made secretly. If memory serves me right, at one point there was a payment of 113 million euros split into smaller transactions. Austria was a sort of a laundering mediator for the money Aliyev was taking to Europe. These finances originated in Kazakhstan, then they were laundered in Austria and finally ended up in Switzerland, Malta, Middle East and the UK. Just recently, Rahat Aliyev has published his new book Godfather-in-Law 2, this time in German and focusing on Austrian lobbyists working for the president of Kazakhstan in Vienna. The book reads like a reaction of a drowning person reaching the straws. Aliyev goes blaming everyone from Austrian president to chancellor and helping Kazakhstan persecute him. Nurbank senior managers Zholdas Timraliyev and Aybar Hasenov went missing in late January 2007. 5 years later, their bodies were found near KplusTV station warehouses. The forensic examination played a critical role in building a case against Aliyev. This is his reaction to the news during the interview to K+.
Я считаю, что это продолжение той провокационной деятельности.
I believe this is the extension of provocations by Nursultan Nazarbayev and the National Security Committee chaired by Nurtai Abakayev. As you know, Nazarbayev personally started calling me a criminal without any proof or trial back in 2007. One of the most recent rulings regarding Aliyev was passed by Superior Court of Vienna declaring accusations made by Kazakhstan's investigators justified and testimonies of victims' widows trustworthy. The investigation in Austria is still underway for now.
Rahat Aliyev himself called yesterday's press conference held by Austrian attorneys black PR. As he said in an exclusive interview with independent journalist Alexander Narodetsky, the allegations that the Viennese court confirmed charges against him are a lie. Aliyev links the latest attacks with the publication of his new book, Godfather 2, Crime Scene Austria. He claims that the book's publication is also why threats are being issued against him and his relatives.
There are other smear campaigns, including various press conferences held by devil's advocates in Almaty. They do it because they are weak and they need to score some points with President Nazarbayev, showing him some progress in the fight against me. Resorting to lobbyists, they manipulated the facts, one of which is that Supreme Court of Vienna allegedly confirmed some allegations. None of it is true.
3 days before the nationwide opposition referendum meeting in Almaty, one of its delegates' homes in the capital was broken into and robbed. The victim links this with her trip as part of a 35-member team of delegates on March 16th. The referendum's organizers reported earlier about threats against participants from other regions.
There was a mesh on the window. They tore it down and dropped it here on the ground. The window was wide open. Thieves broke into the house through the window in the evening of March 12, just before the tenant came home from another meeting of the delegates. Former police captain and currently one of the activists of Memleket Tiktil movement, Aygul Imangali, said that the robbers stole $2,000 and a laptop. The woman doesn't exclude that robbery is somehow related to the trip to the referendum. There are several issues suggested to put forward for the popular vote, including the election of mayors, waiver of nuclear power plant construction and nationalization of enterprises, and secession from the customs union. The police investigation is underway. The first thought that came to my mind was whether it is related to a trip to a referendum. My relatives didn't know that I was going to Almaty. As a matter of fact, they still don't.
No changes. That was the Mangistau Regional Court Cassation Board's verdict regarding the politician Vladimir Kozlov. Lawyers point out that the trial was conducted with numerous violations.
One of the main violations was the right for diversified legal investigation. In addition, the motions of lawyers were ignored as well. Despite such serious claims, the hearing was over in no time. It hardly took 20 minutes to hear the verdict. The hearing was held in official Kazakh language, even though people who don't speak the language were also present. According to human rights activist Yerlan Kaliyev, it was a mere formality. The MEP Tadeusz Woźniak noted the same thing. His visit to the court happened to be so unexpected that it confused the court marshals, who demanded him to leave his documents with the deputy marshal. The visit of MEP is not a coincidence. On behalf of everyone who was present in the courtroom, including the foreign observers, the Polish Sejm deputies, I say that they received an impression of a mere formality. The court didn't consider any of the arguments and once again gave it to the prosecution. The next stage, which is allowed by Kazakh law, is to appeal to the Supreme Court. We don't expect that the Supreme Court would change anything and the justice will finally be restored. However, it is a necessary agency through which we have the opportunity to appeal to the international organizations such as the UN Committee on Human Rights.
The independent news website stan.kz ceases its work, announced the media company's management at Wednesday's press conference in Almaty. Its causes are the website's blocking, the arrest of its office, confiscation of property, and a widespread ban on the journalist's professional activities under the label Stan.
This is how we want to show our support to colleagues from Stan TV, the island of democracy and independence, and we hope that you will be back soon. The staff of the banned newspaper Golos Respubliki are commenting recent developments. Not long ago, the publication went through a similar ordeal. Due to several reasons, including the blocking of our website and the arrest of equipment by court order, we have to announce the suspension of Stan KZ operation. On November 21, 2012, Bostandik District Court ruled that the operation of Stan TV website is illegal. The decision was followed with immediate blocking of Stan KZ, although legally these two are completely different companies. Stan KZ was not subject of litigations and was not ruled to cease activity, so it shouldn't be blocked. Unfortunately, reporters still face difficulties performing their professional duties. Preventing their work is actually the goal of all of these recent suits. The court ruling put the fate of the 50-people team at stake. Journalists were denied accreditation, and in late December, their office was arrested while office equipment seized by the police. Despite this, the site continued to regularly cover news stories and monitor the situation in the country, all under tough working conditions. You gave us the truth without imposing personal opinions, only facts. Now you're accused of somehow inciting social hatred, which is a lie, since you always presented information the way it should be presented in a normal country. At the moment, Stan KZ staff is getting ready for new projects. Despite all obstacles, the reporters do not intend to leave their profession behind.
The topic of Kazakhstan's civil and political rights and freedoms was discussed on Wednesday in Almaty. Rights activists presented their final review of the National Plan of Action's effectiveness in that field over the last 4 years. Experts were not pleased with the results. Its overall efficiency was a total of 8%. Details up next.
The National Action Plan regarding the civil and political rights and freedoms is on the brink of collapse. Experts say that in the last 4 years, barely a quarter of all recommendations have been implemented in Kazakhstan. The only actual improvement is registered in the area of children's rights. The rest of 13 indicators, including those for the subsistence rights, the freedom of peaceful assembly, and popular participation in state governance, haven't changed positions or even fallen behind. State mechanisms do not bring any benefits at best and sometimes are actually aimed at suppressing citizens' rights and freedoms. Paradoxically, some actions were indeed taken as part of this national plan, including the passing of the law on religious organizations, which only brought negative results. The plan also failed when it comes to freedom of speech and information access. All 6 recommendations of human rights activists were ignored. A number of laws came into effect and all of them could be considered controversial or at least highly questionable both within and outside the country, in particular the law on internet regulation. We have gathered here to protest against ECK's initiatives. This protest in support of free internet during spring of 2010 vividly illustrates the situation. Activists flooded the mailbox of the Information Ministry with messages regarding the matter, held protest actions, collected evidence of state blocking online resources, advised local internet users how to bypass restrictions, and even appealed to the courts, all in vain. We failed to reach the end goal, but we managed to inform the population and foreign community about the negative impact the law brought to the citizens of Kazakhstan. What the national plan doesn't have is the clause for the right to receive benefits. For 5 years, the 77-year-old Zaysanbay Kantarbayev is trying to understand why he is not paid by the state. Officials say that the man is already living in the veterans' home and his payment is spent on utility bills, but this is not enough for the pensioner. Compensation for our labor during the war. If they could accept it, there'd be no dispute. About 160 people who took part in the war live in the veterans' home now. All of them were deprived of the battle and home front benefits. But why? Why do the authorities pinch the rights and freedoms of Kazakhstan's citizens? This question is always on the mind of human rights activists. The most prominent of them, Evgeny Zhovtis, believes the problem lies in the inaction of citizens themselves, as well as the lack of culture of standing up for one's rights.
Lower House parliamentarian Azat Piruashев suggested to Justice Minister Berik Amashev to stop criminal punishment for false business on Wednesday during the minister's speech to MPs on the issue of decriminalizing financial and economic crimes.
We have to wait for the government to be ready to introduce the bill dealing with the issue in detail. Without solving problems raised by businessmen, such a bill is useless, since everything proposed so far lacks real substance. The changes are cosmetic and do not help the liberalization at the level requested by businessmen. The Justice Minister seeks to use the bill to mitigate punishments for financial and economic crimes. Berik Amashev proposed to introduce the appropriate amendments in 10 articles of the Criminal Code. The majority of MPs approved the bill in the first reading, while Piruashev's idea to drop the pseudo-entrepreneurship clause altogether was readdressed to the minister, to his colleague from the Anti-Corruption Agency. At the same time, Deputy Chairman of the Financial Police Department Ayvar Badanov revealed some statistics which point towards pseudo-entrepreneurship bringing the most harm to the state and millions of dollars of damage. In 2011 alone, the total damage from pseudo-entrepreneurship came to over $1 billion. If we are seriously ready to write this off, then we should drop the clause indeed. But if we do see this as substantial damage, we have to regulate it somehow. I believe these issues are reflected in the new draft of the Criminal Code.
The Kazakh Post issued an official apology for an inappropriate comment posted earlier on its Twitter account. The management admitted that the phrasing of the comment was unethical and wrong.
The web conflict arose on Wednesday night when one of the Twitter users addressed a question to the company in Kazakh language, which was answered in Russian. The operator of Kazpost immediately explained his particular linguistic stance. There could be followers who speak Swahili, yet we shouldn't be translating every tweet. We use the most popular language. The last post made certain users of Kaznet a bit angry, saying that reducing the significance of the state language to such a minimum isn't appropriate. The tweet was finally deleted after a wave of outrageous comments. Representatives of GSC emphasized that this account wasn't official and there was no editor, while the questions were answered by employees from different departments. The management admitted that the incident was a lesson learned. The account's password has been changed. About 20 people had usernames and passwords. We're currently trying to find out who's to blame. We've been taking respective disciplinary measures in accordance with the law and labor code.
How do you deal with hackers of all stripes and political orientations? By investing in professionals who protect internet resources. A conference on cybersecurity took place in Almaty on Wednesday. We turn to the next report for more on the threats of DOS attacks in Kazakh cyberspace.
The chief editor of Serke Orko Rasalimbekov says that their portal has been DDoS attacked 4 times in the last 2 years. Yet the website doesn't contain anything that is contrary to the government's general policy. In fact, it's quite the opposite. However, the hackers act in mysterious ways. The last hacking forced IT specialists to install expensive equipment. We learned to be smart about it. We used to use only one server, whereas now we ran several servers at once. During DDoS attack, we immediately switched to another server. Many people are trying to rent European servers because it is much safer. In order to stand up to cyber criminals, we need a legal foundation, said the participants of the conference. The amendments to the law on protection of personal data will be introduced in the second half of this year. From now on, the hackers that have attacked the government sites may go to jail for 3 years. The government website egov.kz was hacked last year. The attack happens for a reason, usually to obtain economic benefit. It's not a one-day job. It requires thorough preparation. One must always stay alert, which is a responsibility of IT services. Off the record, Andrei Nikiforov knows what it means to hack the website. He used to do it himself. According to him, any website is a piece of cake for an experienced hacker, especially the government sites. Government sites are developed on complete solutions. These ready-made solutions are also used throughout the world. Many programmers and hackers know how to hack the code unless it is renewed using certain programs or their knowledge. Generally, the cybercrime is a worldwide problem. There are way too many hackers and spammers. Some of them were able to withdraw millions of dollars from bank accounts. According to respectable experts, it is necessary to invest the millions of dollars in the development of a means of protection against information threats.
The water channel in South Kazakhstan's town of Kentau deprived a 74-year-old man of housing. Water from the municipal channel destroyed his house's foundation. Public utility reps claimed for years that groundwater is to blame. The elder was forced to sue municipal water channel for almost $7,000. However, he is still unable to claim his money for the 4th consecutive year. Our correspondents attempted to find out why.
74-year-old Saidullah Barnabayev has been living in this house for around 35 years. The mine worker with 40 years of employment history now has to move to a small summer house with his family. It is too dangerous to live in a big house, and an ex-miner even fears to enter it. Due to moisture, the walls cracked and dislocated, the floors crooked in all of the rooms. In 2007, the house started to settle. Saidullah Baranbayev says for a long time they couldn't find the cause of it. Specialists from water services company assured that groundwaters were causing the foundation to settle. The pipe cracked and broke in half. The water flowed under the house and it's still there. We found this water when we started excavating the soil. The elder man had to prove that it was the fault of utility providers. He repeatedly hired experts at his own expense and even managed to win in court in 2009 that compelled Kentau Sushar Enterprise to pay $6,600 for moral damages. However, Saidullah Baranbayev never saw the money, and a year ago the company went bankrupt. We're not responsible. Ashasaisu is not a legal successor and is not going to pay. We're helping in any way that we can. City administration officials are aware of pensioners' problem and met with him several times. They promised to help the old man and even put him on the waiting list for new housing. We're looking for an unoccupied house. He doesn't need 3 rooms. We will have his new house renovated and then give it to Baranbayev. We promised him new housing and he'll get it. However, city administration officials didn't specify how long the pensioner and his family will have to wait for new housing. Saidullah Baranbayev knows one thing for sure. If he doesn't get a house this year, he will be asking the president for help.
Housing and utility reps deny the possibility of flooding in the capital even under the most intensive melting of snow. Astana Tazalık company employees maintain city services will be able to cope with the water, even though there is a shortage of machines for pumping melted water and snow removal, leading to the hiring of private contractors.
The last 2 days have brought surprisingly warm temperatures to Astana, which are forecasted to be even higher by Nowruz. The unusually warm weather has caused rapid snow melting. Thus, 12 cubes of meltwater are removed from the city each day. According to utility services, the workload is likely to increase as much as 3 times after March 22nd. The outskirts are said to be the most problematic areas, as they lack drainage networks which operate in the central part of the city. In front of the cameras, the urban services workers seem quite optimistic about their coming busy schedule, in spite of the fact that this winter's precipitation has already beaten all the records, as the norm exceeded by almost 40%. There's a lot of snow in the city. The snowfalls were heavy this year. You can see that the snow is melting and flowing onto the road. We will help prevent the flood. I assure there will be no flooding. I'm positive.
The monument to Abay may soon be flooded, claim concerned residents of Kızılorda who are worried about old pipes running under the square where the monument is installed. The authorities are aware of the looming danger and promise to resolve the issue soon. Our reporters evaluated the threat level of the flooding.
A lot was passed through struggle and strife, disputes in courts, sufferings and anxiety, all leading up to the dusk of life when I, exhausted and sated, discovered the frailty and futility of my actions and the offense of my very existence. The teachers called a new panoramic monument the Enlightening Board. The marble slab is engraved with the quotes attributed to the great Kazakh poet Abay. This place is indeed perfect for elementary school field trips. I'm very happy about it since I've read Abay's books with tears in my eyes. Nowadays, young people prefer surfing internet to reading books. This monument in the park will be our pride, and at the very least children will get to know Abay's poetry here. At any moment, though, the park could be flooded with running water since 3 pipelines are located directly under the monument and only 2 of them are new and made of plastic designed to last 50 years. Experts are concerned about the 3rd pipe installed almost 40 years ago and now ready to burst. The authorities have been properly warned about the threat before laying down the square, but the alley, which has been awaiting the official opening for 3 months, may still become the place of an accident. I told them this wasn't a suitable place for construction. Implications could be serious since water here runs under pressure. If God forbid something breaks, everything will go under in minutes. The city administration promises to solve the issue as soon as possible. We're looking into the situation. It is very important since the project was funded with public money. After considering all experts' reports, we will make the decision. Said decision will be made without jeopardizing the supply of drinking water and park reconstruction, say the authorities. For now, city residents cannot do anything but wait when the state will save the great classic legacy from contemporary misjudgments.
In our final story, Wednesday would have marked 47 years since the birth of Kairat Raskolbekov, a member of the December 1986 events in Almaty. He was arrested, charged, and received a death sentence, which was later overturned in favor of 20 years in prison.
Kairat Raskolbekov died in the Semipalatinsk prison under mysterious circumstances that have never been fully investigated. A few years later, when Kazakhstan became independent, Raskolbekov was fully rehabilitated and posthumously decorated with Halyk Kahramanı medal. For a long time, Raskolbekov's family didn't even know the location of his final resting place, which was once discovered due to the efforts of his father, assisted by community activists and former senior staff of the prison. These days, Kairat Raskolbekov's monument in the Semey landmark features engraved quotes from his poems. On March 13th, Raskolbekov's birthday, pupils of the school bearing his name traditionally joined the ranks of Jas Ulan organization. Our museum has a lot of information about his biography and December events. Among other things, you can read Kairat Raskolbekov's letters written to his mother while in prison.
That's all we have for now. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.